Then normal goods, different goods, inferior good and all that. These are the things you should know. Now the other things you told me is also you guys haven't done in different curves in microeconomics, but you have done a very similar exercise. You have done the isopoints in production functions, right? So I'm just quickly kind of trying to get what you have done so that we both understand each other. What is the common platform? The problem which you have done in production theory is you are trying to minimize cost subject to a constraint that the output from the production function is greater than equal to a particular value. Yes? Why I lost you? Right. So I'm guessing. So if this is what you did in the production function, so my minimum, can you see at the back? I don't know how to type. Are there any particular?
There are no lights at this.
Are there any board lights? It's a big one, right? Yeah, so this. Right, so what we have done is minimize W times L plus R times K, or W is the standard for just so we will do the same policy, so we still use RT notation of W and K, and then subject to a production function, what probably a very popular production function. So that would be something like A to the power alpha, A to the power which are greater than equal to some Q bar, right? So this is what we have solved. So you know the diagonal way and solve it, right? Now there is just a similar kind of code is there in microeconomics. So if you are the consumer, okay, so what it is that you try to do? You try to maximize the utility. Now that's sufficiently laid down, but let's kind of accept it the way it is. We try to maximize the satisfaction of the utility, and the way we do that is by choosing between various goods X and Y. Now, if we didn't have to pay for it, or if we had unlimited amount of income, we would consume as much of X and Y as we can, right? But the problem is, it's not that we are blessed with unlimited amount of income. We do have an upper income constraint. So what we end up choosing, how much of X and Y we are going to consume, will depend upon the prices of X and Y. So kind of the equivalent problem in the consumer theory would be the consumer would try to choose X and Y, these are two goods, right? Trying to maximize the utility function given on X and Y. But the utility function can also be like a cost of utility function, which is A x to the power alpha, Y to the power beta. Now subject to the constraint that the money or the expenditure which the consumer is going to incur cannot exceed the income the person has. So the equivalent story for that would be if Px is the price of X per unit times X. So this is the total expenditure on the item X. Okay. Py is the price per unit of Y, and this is the total expenditure on the item 1. This is the total expenditure. So you want to consume X amount and Y amount of capital X and capital Y itself. This cannot exceed your income level of X. So that's the kind of thing. This is what the equivalent in the consumer theory. Right. So I'm going to use some of these concepts, the later part, and what you have to probably do is visualize what you did here, so that when you try to translate it here, it becomes easy. Now the concept which I'm going to talk about is pure and simple policy analysis. So I'm going to pick up certain alternate scenarios. Some you are pretty much aware of, and some probably you will be hearing for the first time. So what are the alternate scenarios? You guys are aware of the PDS system, public distribution system ration card? What is that? Yeah, so which are the kind of people you can get? Yeah, so you must identify a group of people whom you think are poor, they are at the poverty line. Let's not get into the debate whether they are actually poor or not, whether the poverty line should be the Tendulkar poverty line, etc. So that's separate discussion. So let's just check poverty line. Okay? So given that there are some people who are below the poverty line, some people are above the poverty line, and then the government has this as a fair price shop or the ration shop, where you provide some of the essential items, and I'm going to come to what are the essential items are, at a subsidized rate, much lower price, then you could buy them in the market. That's the PDS system. Now, long back, probably before you guys were born, I think so, when we were kids, we go to ration shops, the kind of things which were available in ration shops are a whole range of baskets. For example, today what we found in ration shops are usually the rice, the wheat, okay, pulses, sugar, and kerosene. These are the major ones. Long time back when we were kids, what we used to find is not only this, but salt, the soap, duster, registers, pencils, pens, and everything. So gradually the government has taken out certain things and only have pencils. So behind removing this thing, there must be a thought process. So I am not believer that no matter how much we blame our government and bureaucracy, because we are under some kind of a democracy, when we move from one regime to the other, there is some kind of discussion which happens. So there was a discussion that why from the ration shop you will remove the dusters, okay, the soaps, the pencil, etc., and stick on with the whatever you have. So what would be your case? Why were those things removed? What do you mean by they are not efficient? You can survive without books and pens, without study, right? So you guys are in India for what? More than one semester, I can see that. Good. So what we moved was from poverty line, which was calorie based. So the whole essential idea was that we are going to identify somebody as poor. What we mean that these guys do not have the basic minimum to sustain. So you want to define everything in terms of calories. So what is the basic minimum calorie you need to survive? Now the current debate is whether the basic minimum which you say is good enough, right? So in some states you actually have another kind of poverty line which is called the Antodaya line. So there is BPA and Antodaya. The Antodaya is really very poor. BPA is poor and somebody who is not poor. That's the distinction which we have. So the initial focus was sometime back, about 10 years back, that we have to look at businesses, identify those people who are extremely poor and what is the basic thing we need for survival. And even in India, so we looked at the rice as one, the wheat base as the other, pulses as the other, sugar. We looked at salt out here because salt prices go to very and not a whole lot, and the cooking oil is the case. So that is the essential part. So this was defined as an essential survival part. The argument is not that you can do without the other. That life in process is fine without the other. The argument is that if you don't have this, there is no way you can survive. So somewhere in the constitution, in our constitution, we had this argument that there were certain things which were not written down as fundamental rights, but it is completely understood. If there was a fundamental right which was not written, but the constitution was given around that one, right to life. It's so much as a fundamental right that you don't have to write that you will get the right to life. So the moment one discusses right to life, these are the ones who between that right. Now this was a fairly good thing which went on, and I must admit that immediately after the Second World War, many of the developed countries had the ration card, the food stamp ration policy, and some of them still continue with that. So that's perfectly fine. What went wrong, which people picked up from popular newspaper articles or from discussions, and we had something called the Wadhwa Committee report. And this, I'm giving some of the historical background, so you can type on Google and find out that this was an extreme wastage and nothing was happening. If you had this objective of some people who are poor and you are going to provide the basic minimum at a subsidized price, so that these poor no longer stay poor and some of them can actually move up, that wasn't happening. And it wasn't happening because the whole ration system was being badly designed. It wasn't very good. So what were the things that were happening? Why were things badly very good? One obvious problem is the targeting problem. I just spend 1 minute and move. Targeting problem is that people who are really poor are not getting it, people who are not poor are getting it.
In fact, probably many of you, if you go and ask your uncles or parents or even people like me, right, we are not very poor, but we still have a ration card. Because we use it or not, it's completely immaterial. But if I want, I can use a ration card, so we have that. How many of you actually have ration cards? Do you use it? Why don't you get rid of ration card? Identity. So in India, what we often do in politics is a misconception. So the ration card was also the identity. So now even though you don't want the ration, you will still be counted as one of those guys who are not eligible for ration card, but still have the ration. So in the counting, how many people have ration cards and they are not using it? Therefore the ration card is bad. There are people who are going to enter the calculations. These many million people have ration cards, are not using it or should not use it. Therefore, you guys are dishonest. It's a completely wrong argument, because if that's your identity, you can't give up your identity. So we have mixed up certain things sometimes. That was one of the identity problems we had, which could have been avoided. Which one could have been avoided? The other identity problem which we have in India is when we try to find out BPS. So, how do you think in India people find out somebody is poor or not? How would you, if I were to give you an assignment and go to some district or some village you live in old Durga or in Delhi and come back and tell me out of the 500 households which are poor households and which are not poor households, how would you go about it? Sorry? So exam, so okay, by the so how do you do it? By your survey or there is some secondary data? Household survey or secondary data? So let's say I am one of those guys responding, right? You knocked on my door, I come out, ask me questions, and try to get my income. I'll ask you questions. Go ahead, question. What do you ask me? Do I have cattle? Okay, yes. 3. How much is your monthly spend on food? How much is my monthly spend on food? Let's say I get 3,000 rupees. Great. So how do we go about doing it? So you have what we call the NSS survey. That is consumption survey round. So what they do, every 5 years there is a major consumption survey round, which is all over India. And these guys actually do a detailed survey, kind of survey which you are saying. They don't ask you how much you spend monthly expenditure. They ask you how much did you spend on rice in the last 14 days, dal in the last 1 month. So there are 2 recall periods they use, weekly or monthly or 2 cycles. So they will use that. Now why do they go this particular route? Because in India, you cannot ask questions about income, right? So the easiest way would have been kind of ask a guy, what is your income? If there's an answer, if the answer is true, then you just come back. You can't do that in India. Okay? Why? Why can't you do that in India? No. Whether you are poor or not comes secondary. The issue is why can't you ask the question that what is income? Excellent. It's not that people, which report or something. 93% of the labor force is at irregular income. So when you ask me, guy, what's your income? We are not like you, I will say. We are calculating when the days I find work, this is what I get, when I don't find work, this is what I get. What kind of answer, even all this is possible to give. So you cannot probably ask a bad question income, which is unlike the problem in many other countries where they have a far less identity problem. So one of the identity problems we have is when you're trying to find out the income with a proxy to consumption. Now when there's a proxy to consumption, it's a proxy, there can be some mistake. So there can be some problems in terms of targeting, which is purely not driven by my inefficiency or because I'm a bad person, but because it's a design problem. Once you have done that, then you do 2 things. Okay? You find certain assets. You also find a correlation between how this income would correlate with something which is visible from outside. So that I actually don't have to go and ask you. For example, is your outer wall brick wall or is there mud? Do you have a roof which is proper asbestos, cement, plastic, tin? So those are the boxes which is there. And then we come back with the figure. So The point is, indeed there is some amount of targeting which is done because of corruption, etc., political things. I'm not interested in that, that's there. But large part of targeting problem also happens because one, initial design was wrong, and secondly, there are challenges on the ground. Now, whatever difficulties is, we will argue that the rations are not working. So how are the rations